We all know the Death Korps of Krieg love their artillery, but let's talk about one of their tactics on this episode, In the Trenches with Colonel D3DSH0T, Part 2, the Creeping Barrage. When it comes to artillery is used to soften up obstacles, anything that stands in the infantry's way, including defenses like pillbox bunkers and stuff like that. Now, what does the Creeping Barrage do for the infantry? So right here's a diagram that kind of shows how the Creeping Barrage works, which we'll get more into it, but pay attention to the timestamps and the distance. So, at 10 a.m., 200 yards, Allied artillery begins. At 10:03, Allied artillery is moving up, creeping very slowly, and the infantry is following in behind it. At 10:06, the artillery is basically on the edge of the enemy trench, and the Allied infantry is right behind it. Then at 10:08, Allied infantry has taken the trench and the artillery is following along, following enemies retreating. Now this is basically how the Creeping Barrage works. So why does this work? Well, if you use artillery alone, it'll soften up targets for sure, but enemies will take cover, and once the artillery stops, they know a wave of troops are coming, so they'll basically get back on their defenses and wait for the enemy troops to approach and then open fire. So this really helps our boys in the Death Korps of Krieg, because as soon as the artillery stops, enemies crawl out of where they were hiding from the artillery barrage. Next thing they know, they have a bayonet sticking into them. The one thing I want to call back to this though is very important. It's timing. If the infantry advances too far, or if they advance too slow. If they advance too far, they're going to get hit with their own artillery. If they advance too slow, the artillery is going to end before they can get to the position, and that allows the enemy to get on their machine guns or their rifles and just shoot them out in no man's land. This can be seen throughout World War I on both sides. There were many times where lack of communication and timing ended up killing their own forces, but if timed and aligned perfectly well, it was very rewarding, as it would have the effect that the forces were looking for. And like I said before, we all know the Death Korps of Krieg love their artillery, so this is just one of the many tactics they use on the battlefield. So as we can see here, it translates from World War I, it translates over to the 41st millennia. And that right there, my fellow Kriegsmen, was the Creeping Barrage tactic. Did you learn something today, or did you already know it? Again, this is part 2 of my series, In the Trenches with Colonel D3DSH0T, and we're going to cover more, so don't worry. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, share, and follow the page for more lore on the Death Korps of Krieg. You're dismissed. Also, go subscribe to YouTube and get yourself some merch. Thanks, guys.